The sun had already begun to set when Sana stepped out of the vineyard, barefoot now, holding her heels in one hand and her clutch in the other. The air was cool and still, carrying the faint scent of grapes and earth, a scent that felt like freedom. Her dress trailed behind her, brushing against the road as she walked away from the laughter and music fading in the distance. The sound of violins, the chatter of guests, the rhythm of a life she almost lived, all of it grew smaller, softer, until it disappeared into the wind. For the first time in years, there was only silence, and her heartbeat. She didn't know where she was going, she only knew she couldn't go back. Not tonight. Maybe not ever. The road curved through the valley, lit by the soft glow of street lamps. Every few steps, she looked up at the sky, painted in purple and gold, and whispered to herself, "I'm still here." The small inn. After walking for what felt like hours, she came across a small inn, a wooden sign creaking gently in the breeze, Willow Haven Guest House. The old woman at the desk looked up and smiled warmly. "You look like you've had quite a day, dear." Sana smiled weakly. "You could say that." Without asking too many questions, the woman handed her a key. "Room 7. There's tea on the stove." The room was small but cozy, soft lights, faded floral curtains, and the scent of lavender. Sana sank into the chair by the window and let herself breathe, really breathe. For the first time in months, she looked at her reflection in the glass, the same girl in the same white dress, but something was different now. The sadness was still there, yes, but beneath it, there was something new, a quiet strength. She whispered, "You did it." Not perfectly, not fearlessly, but she had done it. Days turned into weeks. The next morning, she woke to the sound of birds outside. No phone calls, no cameras, no expectations, just sunlight streaming across her face. She made herself tea, took long walks through the valley, and began to rediscover things she had forgotten: the smell of rain, the sound of her own laughter, the way the world looked when she wasn't trying to impress anyone. She started sketching again, something she hadn't done since college. At first, her lines were shaky, uncertain. But with each drawing, she found herself healing a little more. The stranger. One afternoon, while sitting in the inn's small cafe, she met someone, Adil, a photographer who had been traveling through the vineyards for a documentary project. He noticed the sketchbook on her table and smiled. "You draw beautifully," he said softly. Sana looked up, a little shy. "Thank you. I'm still finding my way back." He nodded with understanding in his eyes. Sometimes, getting lost is the only way to find the right road. They began talking, not about weddings or expectations, but about art, freedom, and how silence can heal the soul. There was no pressure, no pretense, no masks. Just two people sharing stories under the soft afternoon light. For the first time, Sana didn't feel like she had to be anyone but herself. A letter never sent. Weeks later, she sat by the window of her room and wrote a letter, not to her parents or Amir, but to the girl she used to be. "Dear me, you did the hardest thing. You chose yourself. You thought walking away meant losing love, but it meant finding truth. The world might not understand, but your heart does. And that's enough. Keep walking, no matter how quiet the road becomes. You're never really alone." She folded the letter, placed it inside her journal, and smiled through her tears. The new beginning. Months passed. The vineyard where she once almost married became just a memory, soft, distant, and harmless now. Sana had found a small apartment near the city. Her sketches had turned into illustrations, and she started selling them online, drawings inspired by freedom, love, and courage. Sometimes, she met Adil for coffee, and sometimes she didn't. There was no rush, no script, just the gentle unfolding of something real, something honest. And every evening, before going to bed, she'd stand by her window, look up at the stars, and whisper, "I'm proud of you." It was almost a year later. The city was alive with noise, cars honking, vendors calling out, and the golden afternoon sun reflecting off tall glass buildings. Sana sat in her little studio by the window, her sketchbook open and a cup of tea beside her. Her art had changed. Once filled with shadows and broken faces, now full of colors, light, and motion, freedom had become her signature. She was happy in a quiet way. Not the kind of happiness that shouted or sparkled, but the kind that breathed softly and stayed. The letter that found her one morning. The mailman knocked at her door with a letter, elegant handwriting, familiar name. Her heart paused when she read it. From Amir Khan. She hesitated before opening it. The paper smelled faintly of cologne, a scent she once loved and now barely remembered. "Sana, I don't know if you'll ever read this, but I wanted to tell you that I finally understand that I was in love with the idea of perfection, not with the person in front of me. You didn't betray me by walking away. You saved both of us. That I hope you found peace. You deserve it." Amir. Sana closed her eyes and smiled gently. No tears, no anger, just calm. She placed the letter in her drawer, not because it mattered, but because it didn't hurt anymore. It was proof that she had healed. The unexpected visit. A week later, while setting up her art pieces for a small exhibition, she heard a familiar voice behind her. "Sana?" She turned, and there stood her parents. Her mother looked nervous, holding a bouquet of white lilies. Her father's eyes were soft, lined with guilt. Her mother spoke first. We saw your artwork in the paper. We didn't know how far you'd come. Her voice broke, we just wanted to say we're sorry." For a moment, Sana didn't move. All the years of silence, disappointment, and distance filled the air between them. Then she stepped forward and hugged her mother, gentle, forgiving, calm. "It's okay," she whispered. "We all do what we think is right until we learn better." Her father placed a hand on her shoulder. "You look happy, Beta. Truly happy." She smiled. "I am." The last scene that evening, after everyone left, she went to the rooftop of her building. The city stretched before her, lights flickering like stars, the wind cool against her skin. Adil joined her quietly, 2 cups of coffee in hand. "No gallery lights today," he said softly. "Just this." She laughed, that easy, light laughter that once seemed impossible. They sat in silence, watching the sky fade into night. Finally, she whispered, "I used to think my life ended that day at the vineyard." Adil looked at her. "And now?" She smiled, eyes glowing in the starlight. "Now I know, that was the day it began." Epilogue. Months later, her art exhibition titled "Becoming Free" opened to a full crowd. On the wall, her favorite piece hung, a painting of a woman walking away from a golden gate into an open field of light.